I joked that my ex was way better than Jake at certain things. Jake packed my bags and drove me straight to Tyler's apartment that same night. But what he did when Tyler wouldn't answer the door will shock you even more. He threw my suitcase on the sidewalk and posted our breakup on Instagram with screenshots of my jokes for everyone to see. I'm standing here on the curb, outside Tyler's building at 11:30 p.m., with my entire life in a pink hard-shell suitcase, watching Jake's taillights disappear around the corner. My phone keeps buzzing with notifications from Instagram, and I can see people are sharing Jake's post already. The screenshots he posted show our private conversations, where I was just being honest about my experiences, but he's making it look like I'm some kind of monster. Tyler's not answering his buzzer. I've pressed it 12 times and called him 6 times, but nothing. The building's lobby is locked, and I'm stuck out here in my pajamas because Jake literally dragged me out of bed to pack my stuff. I can't believe he's making such a big deal out of one little comment I made at Sarah's party tonight. It was supposed to be funny. My phone buzzes again. Jake posted another screenshot of me telling my friend Emma that Tyler used to be way more experienced. He's captioned it with, "This is what I put up with for 8 months. 8 months of what exactly? Me being honest about my past. Me sharing my experiences like any normal girlfriend would. The notifications won't stop coming. People are commenting on Jake's posts faster than I can read them. Sarah wrote, "OMG Ashley. I had no idea you said stuff like this." Emma commented, "Girl, this is not okay," with 3 crying emojis. Even Jake's mom liked the post. His mom, who always said she loved me like a daughter. I need to call an Uber, but my phone battery is dying and I left my charger at Jake's apartment. This is insane. All because I made one tiny joke about how Tyler could go for hours and Jake barely last 10 minutes. It's not like I was lying about it. Why is everyone acting like honesty is suddenly a crime? Let me explain how we got here, because Jake is making me look like the villain when I'm the one standing on a sidewalk at midnight with nowhere to go. I met Jake 8 months ago at a CrossFit gym downtown. I'm 29 and work as a social media manager for a boutique marketing firm. Jake's 32 and does something with software development that he never really explained properly. He seemed sweet at first, quiet but sweet. Nothing like Tyler, who was this confident alpha male type who knew exactly what he wanted. Tyler and I dated for 2 years before we broke up 6 months before I met Jake. The breakup was mutual. We just wanted different things. Tyler wanted to travel and I wanted to settle down. But we stayed friendly because we had amazing chemistry, and I'm not the type to burn bridges over nothing. When Jake and I started getting serious, I thought being open about my relationship history was the mature thing to do. I told him about Tyler during our 3rd week of dating, when we were lying together after being intimate. Jake had just finished, and I was still kind of wound up, if you know what I mean. So I said, "Tyler used to go for like 3 rounds, but you're really sweet about making sure I'm comfortable first." I thought I was complimenting him. Jake got all quiet and weird about it. He said, "Do you really need to compare me to your ex right now?" I told him I wasn't comparing anyone, I was just sharing. Couples should be able to talk about their past, right? That's what every relationship article says. But Jake kept getting sensitive about Tyler. Anytime I mentioned something Tyler and I used to do, Jake would get this look on his face, like I was attacking him personally. When I told him Tyler and I used to go to this amazing Thai place, he said, "Maybe you should call Tyler then." When I mentioned Tyler was really good at picking out restaurants, Jake said, "I get it, Ashley. Tyler was perfect." He wasn't being fair. I never said Tyler was perfect. I broke up with Tyler, remember? I chose Jake. But apparently Jake couldn't handle hearing about my past like an adult. The weird thing is, Jake was actually pretty confident when we first met. He made jokes and flirted with me and seemed secure in himself. But the more I tried to help him understand what I was used to in relationships, the more insecure he became. It's like he was sabotaging himself. Like this one time we were at his apartment and he was being really gentle during intimate moments. Too gentle. I told him, Tyler used to be way more passionate, and I really liked that energy. I was trying to help him understand what turned me on. Instead of appreciating the guidance, Jake stopped completely and said, "Can we please not talk about Tyler while we're being intimate?" I said, "I'm just trying to communicate my needs." And he said, "Your needs or Tyler's abilities. See what I mean?" Everything became about Jake's insecurity instead of us building better intimacy together. His friends started getting involved too, which was really inappropriate. We went out for drinks one night with his buddy Marcus, and somehow Tyler came up in conversation. I was telling them about this trip Tyler and I took to Mexico, and how Tyler planned this amazing surprise day trip to these hidden cenotes. Marcus looked at Jake and said, "Dude, why does your girlfriend talk about her ex so much?" I was mortified. I told Marcus I'm allowed to have a past, and Jake just sat there saying nothing to defend me. Later in the Uber home, Jake said, "Marcus isn't wrong, Ashley. You do talk about Tyler a lot." I couldn't believe he was taking his friend's side over mine. I started keeping track of how often I actually mentioned Tyler, just to prove Jake was exaggerating. Turns out, I only brought him up maybe once or twice a week, and usually it was relevant to the conversation. If we were talking about restaurants, I might mention Tyler knew this great spot. If Jake was struggling with something at work, I might mention how Tyler handled similar situations. I was being supportive, but Jake made everything about himself. When I told him Tyler used to bring me flowers randomly, Jake heard, "You don't bring me flowers." When I mentioned Tyler was really good at planning date nights, Jake heard, "You're bad at planning dates." It's like Jake couldn't separate my past experiences from his own insecurities. The intimacy thing became a real issue, though. Jake was just not very experienced, and instead of appreciating my attempts to help him improve, he got defensive every time. When I suggested different approaches, he'd ask, "Is this how Tyler used to do it?" When I tried to guide him, he'd say, "Let me guess Tyler was better at this too." It was exhausting. I was trying to build intimacy, and Jake was turning it into some competition with a guy he'd never even met. Tyler and I weren't together anymore. I chose Jake. Why couldn't that be enough for him? Things got really bad around month 5 when Jake found my old text thread with Tyler. We still texted occasionally as friends. Nothing inappropriate, just checking in on each other. Tyler had sent me a photo of this restaurant in Portland where he was working now, and I responded with, "Looks amazing. Jake and I went to a place like this last week, but yours looks way better." Jake saw the text and lost his mind. He said, "You're literally comparing our dates to Tyler in real time." And I said, "I was making conversation, Jake. Tyler's my friend." Jake said, "Friends don't need to know details about our relationship." And I said, "I wasn't giving details, I just mentioned we went out to eat." We had a huge fight. Jake said I was emotionally cheating, which is ridiculous because Tyler and I talk maybe once a month, and it's always friendly small talk. Jake said, "You light up when you talk about him." And I said, "I light up when I talk about lots of people. That doesn't mean I want to date them." I think Jake was just jealous that Tyler and I had this mature post-breakup friendship when Jake couldn't even handle hearing Tyler's name. Not everyone has to hate their exes. Some of us are evolved enough to maintain friendships. Around month 6, Jake started setting all these weird boundaries. He said he didn't want me bringing up Tyler during intimate moments anymore, which fine, I could understand that. But then he said he didn't want me mentioning Tyler during dates either. Then he said he didn't want me texting Tyler while we were together. It kept escalating. I told him, "You can't control who I'm friends with." And he said, "I'm not trying to control you. I'm trying to protect our relationship." Protect it from what? Tyler lives in Portland now. He has his own life. Jake was creating problems where none existed. His friends kept making comments too. We'd be at group dinners, and someone would ask me about my job, and I'd mention this campaign Tyler and I worked on together when we were dating, because he used to help me brainstorm ideas. Jake's friend Ryan said, "Ashley, do you have any stories that don't involve Tyler?" Everyone laughed, but it wasn't funny. It was humiliating. I started watching what I said around Jake's friends, but that felt like walking on eggshells. Why should I have to edit my entire relationship history to make Jake feel better about himself? Tyler was part of my life for 2 years. Those experiences shaped who I am. Pretending they didn't happen wasn't healthy for anyone. The breaking point happened 3 weeks ago at Jake's family barbecue. His mum was asking me about my previous relationships because she's one of those moms who wants to know everything. I told her Tyler and I had traveled a lot together, and she asked where we went. I mentioned Thailand and Japan, and she said, "Oh, that sounds wonderful. Have you and Jake taken any trips?" I said, "Not yet, but Jake's not really a planner like Tyler was. Tyler had our whole itinerary mapped out months in advance, but Jake's more spontaneous." Jake's mum nodded politely, but I could see Jake's face turning red across the yard. Later, Jake said, "Did you really need to tell my mother Tyler was a better travel planner than me?" I said, "That's not what I said, Jake. I said he was more organized, which is just factual." Jake said, "It's the same thing, Ashley." And I said, "No, it's not. You're twisting my words." We fought about it for days. Jake said I was undermining him in front of his family, and I said I was answering your mum's questions honestly. He said, "There's a difference between honesty and constant comparisons," and I said, "I can't help it if my experiences with Tyler were different than my experiences with you." That's when Jake said something that really hurt me. He said, "Sometimes I think you're still in love with him," and I said, "That's ridiculous, Jake. If I wanted to be with Tyler, I'd be with Tyler." Jake said, "Then why do you talk about him like he's some perfect guy?" I said, "I don't talk about him like anything. I share memories when they're relevant to conversations." But Jake couldn't let it go. He started keeping track of every time I mentioned Tyler, just like I had been keeping track to prove I wasn't obsessing. Except Jake's list was way longer than mine, because he was counting things like, "When we were at that sushi place, you said Tyler introduced you to sushi." I told him, "Jake, that's not me comparing you to Tyler, that's me explaining how I discovered I like sushi." The final straw was tonight at Sarah's birthday party. We were all sitting around her living room playing this drinking game where you share embarrassing stories. Everyone was laughing and having fun. Sarah told this hilarious story about accidentally sexting her boss. Emma shared about walking in on her roommate. When it got to me, I was telling them about the time Tyler and I got caught being affectionate in a movie theater and had to leave. Everyone was cracking up except Jake. After the story, Jake said, "Your turn," really coldly, and I realized he was mad. During the next round, someone asked about the best sex we'd ever had. I thought we were all being playful and open, so I said, "Honestly, Tyler could go for like 3 hours straight. Poor Jake here taps out after 10 minutes, but he tries really hard." I thought it was funny. I was including Jake in the joke by saying he tries hard, but the entire room went silent. Sarah looked uncomfortable. Emma looked shocked. Jake's friend Marcus was there too, and he just stared at me. Jake stood up and said, "That's it, Ashley. Pack your shit. You can go back to Tyler since he's so much better than me." I thought he was joking at first, so I laughed and said, "Come on, Jake, don't be so sensitive." But Jake said, "I'm not joking. Get your stuff. Now." Everyone was staring at us. Sarah tried to smooth things over by changing the subject, but Jake said, "No, Sarah, don't. Everyone heard what she said. This is who she is." Then he looked at me and said, "You want to humiliate me in front of our friends? Fine, but you're not doing it from my apartment anymore." I couldn't believe he was making such a scene over one little comment. I followed him out to the car and kept trying to explain that I was joking around like everyone else, but Jake wouldn't listen. He drove home in complete silence while I tried to apologize for hurting his feelings, even though I still don't think what I said was that bad. When we got to his apartment, Jake went straight to his bedroom and started throwing my clothes into my suitcase. I kept saying, "Jake, please, let's talk about this," but he wouldn't respond. He just packed everything I had there, which honestly wasn't that much. Some clothes, some toiletries, my phone charger, a few books. When he finished packing, he said, "Call Tyler. Tell him you're coming home." I said, "Jake, this is insane. Tyler lives in Portland. We broke up over a year ago. I don't want to be with Tyler, I want to be with you." Jake said, "No, Ashley. You want to be with the memory of Tyler while settling for me. I'm done being your backup plan." That's when he drove me to Tyler's old apartment building. Tyler moved to Portland months ago, but Jake didn't know that. Or maybe he did know and he was just trying to make a point. Either way, Tyler's not here and now I'm stuck on this sidewalk with my suitcase while Jake posts our private conversations on social media for everyone to judge. My phone is down to 15% battery and I finally got an Uber. The driver keeps looking at me in his rearview mirror like he's wondering why some girl in pajamas is getting picked up outside a random apartment building at midnight with a suitcase. I told him to take me to my friend Emma's place, but she's not answering her phone, probably because she saw Jake's posts. The Uber driver asked if I'm okay, and I just started crying. Not because I'm sad about Jake. Honestly, I'm better off without someone who can't handle a girlfriend with relationship experience. I'm crying because this whole situation is so unfair. All I ever did was try to be honest about my past and help Jake become a better partner by sharing what worked with previous boyfriends. Jake made me feel like I was doing something wrong by having memories and experiences before him. Like I was supposed to pretend Tyler never existed or lie about the things we did together. That's not healthy communication. That's asking your partner to edit their entire history to protect your feelings. When we got to Emma's building, I rang her buzzer, but she didn't answer. I tried calling again, but it went straight to voicemail. I can see lights on in her apartment, so I know she's home. She's probably avoiding me because of Jake's Instagram posts, making me look like some kind of monster who destroys relationships by being too honest. I ended up getting a hotel room with my credit card. It's one of those extended stay places that smells like disinfectant and has scratchy sheets, but at least it's somewhere to sleep. I plugged in my phone and saw that Jake's posts now have over 200 likes and dozens of comments. People are sharing their own stories about toxic ex-partners, and everyone's acting like I'm the villain. Sarah commented, "I was there tonight, and honestly, Ashley, this has been building up for months." Marcus wrote, "Bro, you dodged a bullet." Even Emma, who I thought was my friend, commented, "Some boundaries need to exist in relationships." It's like everyone forgot that Jake was the one who couldn't handle dating someone with a past. I tried texting Tyler to explain what happened, because Jake's posts make it look like I was obsessing over our old relationship. But Tyler hasn't responded, and honestly, I don't blame him. This is exactly the kind of drama he avoided by moving to Portland. He probably thinks I'm crazy now too. The worst part is Jake's making it seem like I was comparing him to Tyler constantly, when really I was just being open about my experiences. Yes, I mentioned Tyler sometimes, but only when it was relevant. Yes, I shared stories about our relationship, but that's what people do when they're building intimacy with someone new. Jake took normal relationship communication and twisted it into something toxic. I keep thinking about what I could have done differently, but honestly, I don't think I did anything wrong. I was authentic and honest and communicative. If Jake couldn't handle dating someone who had been in love before, then he should have said that from the beginning instead of making me feel guilty for having a past. Maybe we just weren't compatible. Maybe Jake needed someone with less relationship experience who wouldn't accidentally make him feel insecure. But that doesn't make me a bad person, and it definitely doesn't justify him humiliating me on social media and abandoning me outside Tyler's old building in the middle of the night. I tried to sleep, but I kept getting notifications from people commenting on Jake's posts. By morning, the story had spread beyond our immediate friend group. People I barely know from work were liking and sharing it. My coworker Jessica texted me, "Girl, what is going on with your Instagram drama?" I realized I needed to tell my side of the story so people would understand what really happened. I posted my own explanation about how Jake couldn't handle me being honest about my relationship history and how he was trying to control who I could be friends with and what experiences I could share. I explained that mentioning an ex occasionally in relevant conversations is normal and healthy, and that Jake's jealousy and insecurity were the real problems in our relationship. But somehow that made things worse. People started commenting that I was playing victim and not taking accountability. Jake's friend Ryan shared my post with the caption, when you're the problem but can't see it. Even my own co-workers were taking Jake's side based on his screenshots. I don't understand how everyone's missing the point. Jake posted private conversations without my consent to make me look bad. He abandoned me in the middle of the night over one joke I made at a party. He tried to control my friendships and make me feel guilty for having memories that didn't include him. But somehow I'm the one everyone's calling toxic. My mum called after seeing everything on Facebook because apparently the drama spread there too. She said, "Ashley, honey, maybe Jake had a point about you mentioning Tyler too much. Even my own mother is taking his side." I told her, "Mom, I was just being honest." And she said, "Sometimes honesty isn't the most important thing in a relationship." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Since when is honesty not important? Since when is sharing your experiences with someone you love considered wrong? Jake made me feel like I had to hide who I was and edit my history to make him comfortable. That's not love, that's control. I spent 3 days at that hotel reading all the comments and messages and trying to understand how everyone got this so wrong. Jake's posts now have over 500 likes. People are using our situation as an example of what not to do in relationships. I've become this cautionary tale about women who can't get over their exes. But that's not what happened. I was never trying to get back together with Tyler. I was trying to build a relationship with Jake by sharing who I was and what I'd learned from previous experiences. If Jake was secure in himself, he would have appreciated my honesty instead of turning everything into a competition with someone he'd never met. Tyler finally texted me back. He said, "Ashley, I saw what happened on social media. I'm sorry you're going through this, but please don't involve me in your relationship drama anymore." Even Tyler thinks this is my fault. The person who actually knows me and knows our relationship history thinks Jake was right to leave me. I'm starting to wonder if maybe everyone else sees something I don't, but when I look back at everything that happened, I still don't see what I did wrong. I was authentic. I was communicative. I was trying to help Jake understand what I needed and appreciated in relationships. If he couldn't handle that information, then maybe we weren't meant to be together. It's been a week now and nothing has changed. Jake blocked me on all social media. Our mutual friends have mostly stopped talking to me. Emma finally called me back, but she said, "Ashley, I love you, but you really hurt Jake, and honestly, you hurt me too by putting me in the middle of this." I said, "I never put you in the middle of anything." And she said, "You told me personal things about Jake that weren't appropriate to share. Even Emma thinks I crossed lines I didn't know existed." Apparently, sharing relationship details with your friends is wrong now. Apparently, having opinions about your boyfriend's performance is toxic. Apparently, being honest about your past makes you a terrible person who deserves to be abandoned and humiliated publicly. I moved back in with my roommate from college who had an extra room. She's been supportive, but even she said, "Maybe you should reflect on why this keeps happening." I said, "What do you mean keeps happening?" And she said, "Ashley, you did this with David too, remember? I dated David for 3 months before Tyler." I might have mentioned Tyler a few times during that relationship, but that was different. David was clearly not right for me from the beginning. He was immature and couldn't handle hearing about my experiences with anyone. At least Jake lasted 8 months before his insecurity took over. But now everyone's acting like I have this pattern of comparing boyfriends, when really I just believe in honest communication. I believe in sharing your authentic self, including your history and experiences and growth. If men can't handle dating women who have pasts, then they should date teenagers, not grown women with relationship experience. I keep going back to that night at Sarah's party and wondering if I could have phrased things differently. Maybe instead of saying Tyler could last 3 hours, I should have said, "My ex was different in bed," or something vague like that. But we were all sharing embarrassing personal stories. The whole point was to be open and funny about our experiences. Jake took one comment made in the context of a party game and used it to justify destroying our entire relationship. He couldn't handle one moment of honesty about our sex life, so he blew up everything we'd built together. And somehow, I'm the one getting blamed for his overreaction. I still don't understand why everyone thinks comparing boyfriends is so wrong when I was just being honest about my experiences, and Tyler really could last longer. Subscribe if you think some truths are better left unsaid in relationships. Like this video if you've ever had someone compare you to their ex. What's the worst comparison your partner ever made? Comment below, 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 below.